Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Racing Debrief. Today, we got some racing to talk about, Bristol and the Singapore F1 race. So, let's dive into Bristol. We'll start with the Xfinity Series. I liked that. I thought it was overall a solid race, solid night. A lot of different drivers kind of at the front contending throughout the night. Again, just good to see racing at Bristol in general. Concrete Bristol, brilliant. Dale Jr. going up, leading a bunch of laps. That was cool. But overall, just a fun race, shorter race. But yeah, I enjoyed it. We had one big crash with Sam Mayer, Brennan Jones, and Josh Berry. They all crashed, so all of Dale Jr.'s drivers basically. Besides himself and Justin Allgaier, so 3 of the 5 from that team crashed together. That was pretty much the big incident. Sam Mayer hitting into Josh Berry, cutting down his tire. Josh Berry then crashes into Sam Mayer as he was on the bottom. So that was the big incident from the night. Late restart, we see Dale Jr. contending. It was cool. He's up there in, solid spot. He was 3rd or 4th, and inside of his car caught on fire to come down the pits, and he was out of the race. So that was unfortunate, but just cool to see him at the front, up there racing. Outside of that, you had Daniel Hemrick doing his thing at the front. Justin Haley got by him relatively easy, and Justin Allgaier pulled away, got the win. So you had that. Allgaier go into the next round of the playoffs. So, yeah, I thought it was overall a exciting Xfinity race. And we'll go to the Cup race now. So the Cup race, they moved ahead by an hour, starting at 6:30 instead of 7:30 due to rain. The race didn't really get started until about 7 because there was a little bit of rain. But once they got going, I thought it was good racing. I think that I liked what I saw. I liked the driving on the bottom of the track. I think that, again, like you talk about the short tracks, having the cars be able to get a little closer, not be as affected. I think that would be helpful. But having the traction compound on the bottom, having the top lane be able to be raced and, get some grip up there, it made for good racing throughout the night. So the first stage, pretty simple. Christopher Bell gets the win. Stage 2, you had Corey LaJoie lead some laps. Christopher Bell once again pull up and getting the win. You did have one crash with Corey LaJoie going and hitting into the inside barrier, coming back up onto the track, hitting into Joe Logano. That affected his playoffs and took him out, actually. Joe Logano was the only playoff driver to crash in that race, and that really took him out of it. Other playoff drivers, Ricky Stenhouse, he was doing his thing. Michael McDowell was close to the front throughout the night, but not enough to overcome the issues in the previous 2 races. The driver eliminated, unfortunately, was Kevin Harvick, and he finished 29th, 5 laps down. That was pretty bad. That was pretty bad, and it was disappointing to see him eliminated, but really more like the emotions there of the last season. I think that was one of the first times that it kind of really was something I noticed in my mind, thinking about it. There's been a few times throughout the year there's been some different things that have hit those levels of him retiring that I've felt, and something I haven't really necessarily experienced before with your favorite driver on their final season. Obviously announcing the beginning of the year, that was one thing. The start of the season, in Daytona, that was one. Watching the race in person in New Hampshire, knowing that was the last time I'd see him race in a Cup car. that one, and then Bristol. Because, that was it. Like, he's not going to win another championship. Um, it'll always be one. And that was a moment for me that was kind of thinking about that championship year and how awesome that was to watch. So that was the stuff that, those moments, just seeing the struggle, kind of just think this year hasn't been great. So yeah, that was my thought on that. It was cool seeing Ty Gibbs at the front leading. He led over 100 laps, so that was cool. Something to look forward to next year, seeing him at the front, and hopefully more. But yeah, definitely a emotional elimination. Being like, okay, that's it, playoffs over. But we'll just enjoy these next races, and hopefully he goes and gets a win. As for the rest of Bristol, Denny Hamlin went out and won. And the crowd didn't seem to like it. Yeah. Denny Hamlin's been controversial for a while. Not the most liked driver, and in recent years he's done things that has definitely added to it. 2017 with Chase Elliott, that's the one that I think sticks out to a lot of people. They're not going to get over that ever. Recent things with Kyle Larson hasn't helped either. So, Denny Hamlin doesn't necessarily have fans, or that many of them out there. So he got booed, and he was asked, one of the questions, and he said that he beat everybody's favorite driver, which is true. He beat everybody's driver. I liked when WC cut to Chase Elliott, though, in the pits. That was pretty good. Yeah, so race moves on to Texas now. Texas, I'm not excited about Texas. Oh my god, Texas is the worst race on the calendar. Yeah. See what happens there. 12 drivers. Cut down to 8 in 3 weeks. This is the most wild round. You have Texas, which is, a little bit more normal, but then you go to Talladega and Charlotte Roval. So things can get very wild in this round. It's always that chaos round. Before it was Talladega, maybe it was the final race, and Charlotte Roval was the one before it. Maybe they switched those. But it's typically those two in the round of 12. And then 1.5 miles, whether it's been Las Vegas, whether it's been Texas, whether it's been Kansas, one of those three has sort of rotated into that spot. But always a wild race round. So a lot of drivers are going to want to go for that win at Texas and be safe at Talladega and Charlotte. It was wild, though, seeing Joe Logano get eliminated. Again, one of the champions that were in the playoffs, past champions, and defending champion. First time the defending champion has been eliminated in the round of 16. So let's move on to F1. We'll go talk about Singapore for a minute here. Singapore was going to be a little bit more wild with the Red Bulls starting in 11th and 13th. Further back than they started most of the year. So for them to get a win was going to be difficult. And I felt like going on the weekend, I was already worried about Singapore. That's one that Max just seemed to always have issues at. It's one of those tracks that one of the few he doesn't have a win at on the whole calendar. I think it's Singapore, Qatar, obviously Las Vegas. But Singapore and Qatar is ones that have been raced at previously. Because I think it's Singapore, Qatar, and Mugello are the only three that he doesn't have a win at that he's raced at. So, yeah, it's one of those things that I would say there's a weekend that I was least confident going into in this whole win streak. It would be Singapore. And Red Bull, that car was not good. I have no idea why. Something just happened. That car did not pull up this week like normal. And we've seen the win streak for Red Bull of 15 in a row. Win streak for Max at 10 in a row. Ended. And, I mean, is it disappointing? Yeah. But it's going to happen eventually. And 10 wins in a row for one driver. Seeing your favorite driver win 10 in a row is something special, something never achieved before. So no matter what, that will always stand out as, iconic moments and, a special moment to witness. So, I would have loved to see Max win Singapore. Just wasn't going to happen this week, fortunately. But, yeah. Outside of the race, at the front of the field, we saw Carlos Sainz lead from start to finish. Overall, awesome lead for him, awesome win for him. This one here, he really pulled up and just was the best driver. I think that, his first win last year in the British Grand Prix, he got a little bit of assistance, a little lucky with things to get that win. But this win was purely Carlos Sainz being the best driver on that day. British Grand Prix last year, Ferrari kind of messed up Charles Leclerc. Max had his issues where he got a piece of the AlphaTauri stuck in the floor of his car from the crash that happened, some contact. So those two drivers are taken out of it in that sense. So Carlos Sainz got a win, but I felt like Singapore was one that he really pulled up, deserved to win it. And the Red Bulls had their strategy going on hard tires. Safety car they were hoping for came out just a little bit at the wrong time. I was able to pit, but the hard tires that they had on were so bad at that point. It was about 20, 25 laps in that they were just falling to the field. Nothing they could really do. They had to pit, make a charge back. I believe Max ended up with 5th. Almost got 4th. That was close. One more lap, he would have had Leclerc for sure. I mean, he almost had him at the line. Out the front, though, Sainz did his brilliant driving and honestly brilliant work with the DRS to keep Lando Norris close enough to help him defend against George Russell and Lewis Hamilton, who, under the virtual safety car, they got a pit stop, came in, got the soft tires on, they were charging. They got by Leclerc real easy, just a few laps to go. They were to Lando, but Sainz again with a brilliant move just to keep Lando in that DRS range. Don't let him get past and then put yourself in a bad spot. So that worked out brilliant. Ferrari and McLaren working together. Of course, their two friends working together, so that was cool to see. Another thing that was cool to see was George Russell hitting the wall and being out of the race. Going for the win. I mean, he pushed too hard. He's one of those guys that is obnoxious, so seeing him out, I was thrilled. I loved it. He's just, ever since he got to Mercedes, he just got super obnoxious with this, I deserve to win bullshit. And he doesn't deserve to win. He didn't do anything in that race to deserve to win. So, glad that he didn't get the win. But, yeah, outside of that, overall good weekend. Next week, NASCAR goes to Texas. F1 goes to Japan. We'll see what happens.